Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cavletics, an inside look into the athletics department here at Bossier Parish Community College. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and today we're going to run away because we're talking cross country with first-year BIPSI cross country coach Kent Faulting. Kent, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
For those of you that may or may not be familiar with Coach Kent Faulting, let me give you some background on the man I consider to be the guru when it comes to distance running, particularly in our neck of the woods here in Northwest Louisiana. Faulting has been the head cross-country and track coach at Parkway High School for the last 13 years, compiling one of the most impressive records in Northwest Louisiana. He has led his teams to 2 state championships, 3 state runner-up finishes, and 13 district titles. And you can add one more to that team total, as his Lady Panthers just captured the District 1-5A title a week ago. And yesterday, as even a more update, they were the regional champs yesterday and have qualified for the state meet. He has coached 16 individual state title winners in track and cross country, as well as 7 All-American finishers. He was Louisiana's nominee for National Cross Country Coach of the Year in 2014. In addition to his coaching duties, Faulting serves as the mathematics department chair at Parkway High School. Recently, he became a published author, releasing the book titled Motivated Runners Find a Way. Oh, and by the way, he has a wife and children. Where in the world do you find enough time to do all the things that you do?
That's an interesting question. You got to be very, very organized in my household. And so I get up at 4 a.m. every morning to kind of plan the day out. And, we just find it every minute we can to be with my wife and kids. Heck, I ran the middle school cross-country association meets this year so I could watch my own son run, so I'd have time to do that. So, but we make it work.
So never a dull moment around the Faulting household, I'm assuming.
Absolutely not.
Well, Kent, you are a Parkway alum. Did you always want to return to your alma mater and your South Bossier roots and give back to Parkway and the South Bossier community?
So originally I went to LSU in Baton Rouge to be a communications major, so could have been you.
Same thing I did, huh? Coincidence.
And about 3 years in, I decided I really wanted to do something where I could make an impact on people year after year, and so I decided to be a teacher. And when I got my degree, the only place I applied for a job was Parkway High School. So South Bossier has just been something very special to me, and I wanted to come and get back there. And luckily, they hired me in my one interview, and the rest is history. So.
And 14 years now?
14 years, this year 14, yeah.
Wow.
So and every one of them's been unique and exciting, and,
Well, I know you've been heavily involved, obviously, in cross-country and track. What sports did you participate in growing up in South Bossier?
So I played football for Elm Grove and for Parkway for a year. I played basketball my entire life. In fact, when I got back to Parkway, my original job was being an assistant basketball coach for my head coach, Terry Josting. And, just a unique turn of events of where I'm at now. But yeah, my original goal was always to be a basketball coach.
So track and field, where did that, fit into the equation, cross country?
So I'm very passionate about any job that you give me. So like if I'm given a duty, I'm going to try to do it to the best of my ability. And I ended up getting cross country through kind of a fluke. The lady that was coaching at Parkway High School, Suzanne Tyler, got pregnant, got put on bed rest during the cross country season the week that the kids were supposed to go to LSU. And so the principal called me in and said, hey, you went to LSU. Maybe you could take the kids down there for one meet. I promise she'll be back next week. And one meet in, she never came back. So I took over the program, and that's 13 years later, we're still going strong with that. So.
Well, my sister Mary and my brother Phil were both math majors and PE majors in a double major in college, and went on to become coaches, kind of a similar path. Do you think there's a correlation, a direct correlation between mathematics and athletics that draws people like yourself and my siblings into the chosen profession?
Definitely, and I think we're seeing it more and more. There's the book out, Astro Ball, and there's the book about Moneyball, where there's the statistics behind success. And I think especially like in track and cross country, where you can look at times in training, look at times in races, and start equating and extrapolating. There's a lot of positives out there to having a degree in math, and a lot of interest to see how you can move those numbers. So I would definitely say it plays a role.
Well, you talked just a minute ago about the funny trip to LSU. Was it there or maybe somewhere else? When and where did you develop this passion and this drive to become a cross-country and track and field coach?
I mean, the excitement started there. The first meet I went to, I didn't know what to expect. I brought a lawn chair, and I just thought you just sit down, stuff. And but we had a really competitive girls team that Suzanne had coached, and so when I took them to LSU, they won the LSU meet, and I was just fascinated. I watched these girls just coming in full sprint at the end of this 3 miles, beating head-to-head opponents and things, and I thought, man, this is kind of exciting. And so that first year that I was there, while Suzanne was on bed rest, she emailed me all the workouts. And so I would just do whatever's on paper. I had no clue what was going on. And so we did that for a year, and the girls got second in the state, and the guys got somewhere around, ninth. So the next year when I was full-blown, I'd saved every one of those emails. So we did the process again, and we didn't really get a whole lot of improvement. But the sport just kept, growing on me and becoming something I became real passionate about. So I decided the next best thing was to buy any book I could find, go to any conference I could go to. And so I'm pretty sure I own every book on running now. And some of them, we read 300 pages to get one page of something that would help. But I figure, if you're going to be a part of something, you need to take ownership over it. You need to learn, every ounce of it. And so through lots and lots of hours of discovery and in terms of running and self-discovery as a coach, we kind of put a program in place that I'm very proud of now.
Well, and that goes to, that kind of took away my next question about when did you begin, how did you become such an expert? But you talked about Coach emailing you those workouts, and after that first, or really the second year of not improving, I'm sure for you, with your mathematics background, then you said you sat down and, as you say, extrapolated. Okay, how are we going to improve on what we did last year? Is that kind of the process how that went?
Well, yeah, there were a couple of things. So, I would get an email and it would say something like, "Today the kids have 12 400-meter repeats." I had no idea why we did 400-meter repeats. And the next week I'd get an email, "We're going to do 4 1-mile repeats." And I just went with it. I had no idea about like the aerobic versus the anaerobic development and stuff. And so doing that research really helped me understand why we were doing the workouts we were doing. And then also, when I first got the job, I kind of treated it like I treated weightlifting. Weightlifting, you went hard for a day, you recovered for a day, you try to increase the weights, go hard for another day, and that wasn't right either. So reading it and stuff, it actually is a very mathematical process of how much mileage a week do you put on a kid, how many stress miles do you put on a kid, what recovery do they need from a workout to workout, what recovery do they need in the middle of a workout. And you can kind of stagger these things.
Well, take us through that. I mean, if you would, take us through, let's say, obviously I'm not been hitting the pavement hard anytime soon, but let's take Charlie Cavell and put him on your cross-country team. I'm sorry. Okay, I show up for practice. Here's your workout for today and then the rest of the week.
So the first time somebody comes in our program, we have them run a mile to kind of get their baseline, and we constantly go through this idea of how can we improve that mile time as we go through the year. And so based on that mile time, we get a training pace. It's 70% of whatever your mile time is. So if you were running a 10-minute mile for us, 70% of that's going to be probably somewhere around 13 minutes. And so when we put you out there running, you're going to run a 13-minute pace per mile. And so the first thing we do is get you comfortable running our race distance, which is 3 miles. And then once you get to there, we start developing some very specific components. And so the components for us are the long run, So we try to get about 20% of our mileage in one run per week. And the science of that is you actually, in the most basic way possible, the act of distance running actually produces more veins in your body. It's called capillaries. And so when your heart beats, you can actually pump more oxygen to your muscles. So it's the only sport out there that exists where just the act of doing it actually makes you better through nothing else. So even doing it wrong, you can get better just from getting the mileage in there. And so we put a focus on that, and then we put a focus on kind of heavy aerobic things, like can you run for a fast pace for longer distances? And then we work on the anaerobic, which is can you run very fast for very short distances with recovery and kind of adapt your body to that stress. And so if you were in our program, you'd come in, and once we got you fit, we'd have you doing probably a 7-mile long run for a first-year kid. We'd do a 3-mile tempo run for you one day a week, and then one day a week we'd be on the track doing like 400-meter repeats at what we would like your race pace to be at the end of the season.
I think it would take a little longer than a week. Just
well, man can dream.
As I talked about in the introduction, you've had a lot of success at the high school level, particularly in cross country. A sport that at the high school level has been dominated primarily by private and parochial schools. Just earlier, before we came over, we were talking about Catholic High of Baton Rouge and all the umpteen state titles that they've won in cross country. But you've had success at a public school, and there's not too many out there that have had success in cross country. How have you been able to do that?
I mean, it's definitely a cultural thing at Parkway. When we started our program, I had 7 girls and 10 guys, and we've grown into a culture now this year. I think we had 75 kids on the team. No one knows if they're a good distance runner. When they get to high school, there's no experiences beforehand to get them there. And so getting kids to buy in first and kind of have some self-confidence helps tremendously. And then slowly raising the bar year after year. You know, when I first started coaching, if we had a kid that could run 30 minutes without stopping, that was a huge accomplishment. You know, and now you look at our program and kids are coming in, our best kids, you know, their long runs are almost a half marathon. You know, and because of the culture, when you tell a kid, hey, today your long run's 12 miles, they don't even hesitate. You know, they just go, okay, yes, sir, because we built something in there. When you come and see us in the summer, all of our graduates are back and training with us and telling kids about what it's like to run in college and how they got there. And so kids want to aspire to that. And it took several years to build that, but it's something that's in place now, and it's definitely helped us be able to have enough confidence to go against the private schools that have dominated for most of the last 3 or 4 decades.
We're going to take a brief time out right now, but stay tuned because following the break, we'll have more with Bipsy Cross Country coach Kent Faulting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
In 1977, in Johannesburg, South Africa, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. By the age of 9, he was already outplaying him. The odds of this gentle lad winning the Junior World Golf Championships at the age of 14, 1 in 16 million. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the Open Championship once and the US Open Championship twice, 1 in 780 million. The odds of this professional golfer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Hi, I'm Rusty Wallace. In racing, the driver is only as good as the team they've got behind them. The same principle holds true in business. A successful company invests in employees that are highly skilled and display good character. Our returning servicemen and women fit that bill. They've shown that they've got the qualities that make them real assets to any company that hires them. In the military, their education may include training in technology, communications, and logistics. But more importantly are the values that they embrace, like courage, integrity, and leadership, the same values that can make a business successful. So if you're an employer, on behalf of the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, I want to urge you to hire smart and bet on a vet. It's also a great way to thank them for the service they provided on our behalf. To learn more, call the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes at 1-888-44-SALUTE or visit saluteheroes.org on the web. Thank you.
I'm Charlie Cavell, and we're visiting with Bipsy cross country coach Kent Falting. Before the break, we were talking about Kent Falting, the man, the coach, and the author. Well, let's move forward, and we'll talk about how, Kent, you became the head coach here at Bossier Parish Community College in the process of reviving a program that had been dormant for a year. For full disclosure for our viewers, you and I have been friends for a few years, and I live in South Bossier City. My children have attended and currently attend schools in South Bossier, including my son Jacob, who is a sophomore at Parkway and had you for geometry last year as a freshman. I mention this because when John Rennie decided to bring back cross country to Bipsy, he asked me if I knew anyone who might be interested in resurrecting the program. Well, the first and only name that came out of my mouth was Kent Falting. So I contacted Kent, gauged your interest, and eventually putting you in contact with John. And in the words of the great Paul Harvey, now you know the rest of the story. But all I did was put two people together. But take us through the process of that communication with John first, and now how you became the head coach at Bipsy.
Sure. I didn't really know it when you and I talked if this would really work out with my schedule and everything. But what I did know is I had some runners that were going to Bipsy from Parkway, and that had incredible talent and needed to be here at Bipsy. This was the school that they wanted to come to, and I just didn't want that talent to go to waste. And so my first discussions with Coach Rennie were about how could we maybe find somebody here on staff to take these kids to a couple meets, and I could write their workout plans. Maybe they could come visit me periodically at the school and just give them a chance to kind of keep going and pursue how good a runner they could be. And after a couple of discussions, Coach Rennie and I both started figuring out how passionate I really was about Bipsy and the success of these young men. And so when he made an offer, hey, how about instead of a faculty rep, how about we bring you on board? And I went to my wife first. She kind of runs the household, and made
Smart
sure
man.
I wasn't doing something too crazy. But I told her I thought we could make this work, and she's very passionate. Every kid we've ever coached is kind of like family to us. When you're at Parkway, we have pancake breakfast runs at our house where my wife cooks pancakes for the kids, and they do their long runs. We feed them, and so she had a special attachment to these kids. And so with her permission, I went back to Coach Rennie and accepted the gig, and it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Well, you turned to an old friend, Aaron McGee, to be your assistant coach. Aaron was a coach at Parkway, but is now the assistant principal at Houghton Middle School. Why McGee, and how hard was it to sell him on joining you here at Bipsy?
Why McGee? Aaron McGee is my best friend, and we've coached together for several years. When I took over cross country, I brought him on board, and in return, he brought me on board to be his assistant in girls basketball. And there's a level of success that we've had together, but more importantly, there's a huge level of trust. If he was running an offense or I was putting in a workout that one of us didn't agree with, we don't have so much pride that we can't go to each other and go, hey, man, are you sure about this? And oftentimes through those discussions, we became better coaches and had a better program. And so I did not want to do this alone. And Aaron loves being an administrator. The pay's obviously nice, and the time away from home is a little bit easier on him than coaching. But he started mentioning to me that he really missed coaching and wished there was some way he could get back into it without sacrificing, for the administration gig that he has. And so this door opened up, and I mentioned this, and he was all for it. And it really was the perfect setup for me to take this job and have that kind of support from Aaron being a part of this.
Bipsy's cross-country program began in 2015 and previously competed at the NJCAA's Division III level. However, the program is now competing at the Division I level. Was that something that, you and Coach Rennie talked about, or who was the decision maker to move to Division I?
That was definitely Coach Rennie, and I wholeheartedly believe in the ideal here that, BIPSI has done a great job of being highly competitive in basketball and baseball and softball throughout the years, going against some of the best competition in the nation. When I got here, I was told Region 14 is like the SEC of junior colleges. And so if we're going to do that in this school, we need to do that across the board. And so Coach Rennie made the decision that we needed to be Division I for cross country and set the bar there and then kind of figure out where we can go. And I agree. It's helped us tremendously. Division I athletes can get scholarships, and so we can motivate athletes to come here to run with a little bit of financial support. And, we're going to get to go against the best in the country. And if we want to see where we stand up, that's the way to do it.
On April 10th, you were introduced as the new cross-country coach here at Bossier Parish Community College. You were quoted in the news release announcement of your hiring. All of my life, I've dreamed of being a college coach. Now that you have a season of experience as a college coach under your belt, was it all that you dreamed it would be?
So my original dream was to be the head basketball coach at Kentucky, but Calipari is never leaving, I guess. No, I really, really badly wanted to be a college coach. And the problem, in college is that there's not a lot of money out there for coaches. And once you've got a wife and kids, it's kind of hard. I commend every coach that's kind of taken their family in that direction to be able to pull it off. But this was the perfect circumstance where I could both raise my kids and not put us in a financial burden to do this. And it has been absolute, just the experience of a lifetime. After building the program up at Parkway, I'm a religious man. I prayed for a while for God to give me a new challenge where I could build a program from the ground up again, because it's something I missed. And getting this opportunity to do that here, really even bigger than Parkway. I mean, going from not really anything. When I got here, we had no athletes signed to run. To build it from the ground level up, it's exciting.
Well, talk about that. Talk about your Cavalier and a couple of Lady Cavalier runners. Who are some of those top runners?
So our number one runner for the year has been Xavier Wilson. He was Airline's top senior last year that signed with us. Xavier has a unique passion for running. Sometimes you got to actually calm him down. He'd be willing to do more miles if we let him. But the very first race of the year, he lost to a kid from our rival school, Jacksonville. And then he immediately befriended that kid, found out what he was doing, and figured out if we could push him to get to those levels. So he's definitely been the leader on the course for our team. We have some other guys, two Parkway graduates that have been up there toward the front, Austin Jacobson and Cameron Rogers. That have done a great job. They're used to my program, so they don't really question things when we throw things out there. Two kids from Bossier High School, Rangel Miller, who's probably our most vocal athlete. Most people on this campus, they know RJ at this point. And Cottrell Washington, and then probably one of our emotional leaders. The only one not local is JT Perot over from Elysian Fields. And he really came into a situation not knowing anybody and has been really good at leading by example, kind of pushing these guys.
Well, you talked about Xavier Wilson from Airline, Austin Jacobson from Parkway, and JT Perot from Elysian Fields. They finished second, third, and fourth in the regional meet that your team, congratulations, won.
Thank you.
And their second win of the year, won the Border Dash earlier. I know you've already compared their times to other regional winners because you compete in the NJCAA National Championship on the 10th in Garden City, Kansas. How do they stack up against that national competition?
All right, so looking back at the results from the last couple of years, if you can average under 6 minutes a mile for the 5-mile race in the men's, you have a chance to be the top half of the nation, so top 20 out of the 40 teams that have been competing. And those guys are each under the 30-minute threshold right now, so it's a really good spot to be in. We need our next two guys to kind of push up a little bit. They're right there, but if we could get them to crack that 30-minute barrier as well, I mean, we could be nationally ranked at the end of the season from that. And so I'm very impressed with how much we've been able to accomplish in a very small amount of time from these guys.
Well, let me be the first to publicly congratulate you on your cross-country teams, on their successful season, and wish you good luck next Saturday in Kansas. That's all the time that we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed our visit with Bipsy cross country coach Kent Faulting. Join us again next Friday as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College Cavalier Athletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, bidding you a good sports day.